What's up, guys? This one comes from Lasse Elkjar. I'm probably saying that wrong. When should games be announced? In the last couple of years, it seems like games are being announced way before they come out. Some games are announced 2 or more years before release, and I don't think of leaks, but there have been games announced way too early. Hope you like the topic. Nice vid. Happy face. Happy laughy eek face. Yeah, good topic. Now, yeah, absolutely, games get announced way too early sometimes. And this goes into a number of things. I mean, when I first read your comment, I thought to myself, this is not just games. Pretty much all mediums are guilty of this. Books sometimes get announced way too early. Movies are a huge offender of this. Movies get announced way too early. Same with games, same with music, and artists. Stuff gets announced way too early, and there's a number of reasons for why these things happen. Often at times it is done purposely, a lot of times it isn't done purposely. If in respect to the game industry, something will get announced, right, and more often than not, especially with a lot of modern video games, yeah, I mean, something will get announced, but the problem is delays. I mean, that's the big thing that a lot of people don't seem to understand about the games industry and big multi-million-dollar video games is deadlines. Like, deadlines are a serious thing for developers. Publishers have pretty strict deadlines, and it really sucks when the developer says, you know what, we are not ready to hit this deadline. We can't do it. This project's too ambitious, or the code's just a mess, or we don't have all these assets ready. We've got all this stuff that we got to put into this game, and we're just not ready for prime time, and that's why you see all these games get delayed and delayed and delayed over and over and over again. And we always do say in regards to delays, it's like, well, better to delay it than to release a product that is inferior, that isn't properly tested, bug tested. Delays mean more stuff can go into the game possibly. And if you watch developer commentaries and things like that after a game comes out, developers will always tell you, like, oh, there's so much more we wanted to do with the game, we had to cut this, we had to cut that. There's so much that goes into game development that ultimately, there's just so many things that happens up until the final release of the product. And again, especially with modern video games, because they're just so big, the budgets are so big, so many different things go into it, whether it's voice acting, mocap, all the assets, the textures, the level design. I mean, they're so complex, so big games take a lot of time, but that's the thing, right, is, well, why do they announce it so early when they know they're not ready? And the thing is, sometimes it's hard to gauge that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure a publisher would want to announce a game at an appropriate time. It's just it's just hard to gauge, especially when the projects are so big. Ideally, I think they would like to announce the games at an appropriate time, because the publishers do understand that delays do hurt the game's reputation in a sense. They do hurt the game's, sort of appeal and pre-orders and things like that. Publishers do look at that stuff, so definitely it does hurt them when they do something like that. But also there's it goes into the thing where it does help them. When stuff is announced early, you've got years of pre-release. I mean, you log into IGN and GameSpot every single day, or YouTube, and the game's always at PAX every year or something like that. It just, when it's in people's minds for that long, it certainly has sort of staying power with the consumer, where it's like, oh, this game's been in development for 4, 5, 6+ years, something crazy like that. So when it finally does come out, it is a really, really sort of big thing. So I'm sure publishers like that aspect of it as well. But it goes into like budget too. I'm sure they don't like the fact that the game's been delayed how many times, that they've had to invest how much extra money into the game. It's kind of a win-lose scenario in a sense. Sometimes it works out for them, sometimes it doesn't work out for them. And going back to other mediums, I mean, movies are a huge offender to this, and they'll announce them before they even have a director, before they have their actors picked, and that's just because of like financial calls and things like that, investor meetings and things like that. Paramount or whatever fucking movie studio you can think of, they'll announce, this is what's in the pipeline. We're gonna do this movie, we're gonna do that movie, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. This is confirmed. We definitely want to do all these things, but they're not even started yet, not even close to being started yet. Sometimes you see that in the games community, a certain high-profile developer will come out and say, we want to do this, we want to do that, or something. But oftentimes, they will stay a little hush-hush on those projects. Movies, that's a huge offense. They do that all the time. And the thing is, really works out well for movies and movie fans, because that sort of industry, how that all works out when they finally release a teaser trailer for something. You'll see on YouTube it's got like something absurd, like 50+ million views or something like that. But that's a sort of a separate industry. That is just kind of a separate topic in a sense, but you see what I'm getting, right? This is something that every industry does. And it does suck. Now, you are asking me, when should a game be announced? I think a game should be announced when it's far along, when you know that you actually have something to show, when you know that you're going to be able to hit that deadline. Fallout 4 was a really good recent example where, you know, a lot of us knew, like, all Fallout 4 is coming at some point. When's it going to get announced? When's it going to get announced? You know, blah, 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 blah. We knew it was, like, happening. We knew it was in development and things like that. But we knew nothing about it. We saw no details about it. Not a whole lot leaked about it up until the final point where we actually did get it, where the game actually did get announced. But the thing is, when that game got announced, we knew, like, it was going to be pretty ready. Like, they were going to be very far along in development. They were going to have a lot to show to us, and it was going to be ready in a very short amount of time. And that's the actual case of that game, is that once it was announced, hey, it's coming out really, really soon, and here's all this gameplay, and here's some more gameplay. Every month coming out, we're learning more and more stuff about that game, right? So, that's the most ideal way that I would like to see it done. It's unfortunate that it's not that way every single time, but in the same way, I see why these things happen. That's not me sort of justifying it. You know, in defense of the publisher, the developers, and the movie industry, or, you know, books and music artists when they say they're going to do an album and it takes them like 12 years to do it. I'm not defending that regard, but I certainly see why that happens. So if it were up to me, in a perfect world, you know, don't announce anything until you have something, until you're very far along, until you're really ready to show something, and you are very sure that you're going to be able to release this thing in the next 1 to 2 years. I don't mind if a game gets announced like 2 years ahead of time. That's a decent amount of time for some good pre-release and stuff. Get you really hyped up, and you know, that's a win-win scenario where it's like the publisher knows it's going to release in a year or two, and the consumer gets to get hyped up for it in the next 1 to 2 years or something like that. I think that's pretty fair, but that's just how I would do it. So thank you so much for that topic. God, my God, it's really hot in here. I want to apologize right now. I have a desk fan on, and usually I'll turn all that stuff off. I have like an air purifier in my room, and I have 2 fish tanks with like running filters and stuff, and I usually turn all that stuff off when I'm recording videos, but it's way too hot. I have that stuff off, but I have to have this desk fan on, so I'm sorry if it comes up in the audio or something. But that is okay. I'm just letting you know. So on that note, I'm gonna get out of here, and I'll see you guys later. Take it easy.